Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. We're going to have a good show for you guys tonight. It's just going to be me and Leon, so let's get started.
Welcome to Jasmine Pollock's First Impression Sports Talk, the fastest growing sports talk show in the country. And now, here's your host, Jasmine Pollock.
Welcome back to Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. To kick the night off, we're going to do Pollock's points, so let's get into those. Welcome back. And the first point of the night is going to be Tom Brady versus Michael Jordan, both in retirement. So last 2 weeks, we've been looking at how Tom Brady has finally announced his retirement after an extraordinary 22 seasons and arguably the greatest to ever do it in pro football and the greatest quarterback to ever play the game of football. And we wanted to see, I've seen some conversation if he can be better than Jordan in retirement, and my answer is no. Even though I think Tom Brady is going to be a very dominant force, I think he's going to be an owner, but I do not think he's going to be at the level of a Michael Jordan. Because Michael Jordan has single-handedly changed the game of basketball, single-handedly changed the game of sports in general. So I think Tom Brady is going to he's going to have a very, very good brand, but I don't think he's going to be able to compete with Michael Jordan in retirement. Then second point is the Brian Flores situation. We all know the Miami Dolphins fired their head coach, Brian Flores, after 3 years. And it's really disappointing because I thought the Dolphins were heading in the right direction. I thought he was turning that team around. They had back-to-back winning seasons. And I was really confused. A lot of Miami fans were confused as to why he was fired. And there was a lot of issues going on with tampering, with just a racial issues, just a lot of different things that were going on. So let's bring in Leon. We're going to talk about Tom Brady versus Michael Jordan. So Leon, just to start, do you think the Tom Brady and the Michael Jordan debate continues now that they're both in retirement? Do you think that Brady can compete with him in retirement?
The conversation is going to continue, no doubt about it, and it will not end. Just as we have the Kobe, LeBron, Jordan, Wilt Chamberlain versus Jabbar, those conversations will always be around in sports. However, I think that when you start to compare an athlete from one sport to an athlete in another, it's just a matter of time before folks start fighting because Jordan didn't play football, Brady didn't play basketball. So, how do you measure who's the GOAT? However, if you were to ask me, is it Jordan? Is it Brady? I'm giving the nod to Brady, not Jordan. And I think I know for sure the thing that hurt Jordan was him coming back with the Wizards. That's what I that's my that's my take on it.
That's actually a strong point that you made, actually, because when we look at Tom Brady, he's been majority of his career was spent with the Patriots, and then he goes to Tampa and he wins a championship. So that's a very strong point. And to me, I have the utmost respect for Tom Brady. I do think he's the greatest of all time to play this position, to play quarterback. But to me, when I look at it, when we look at Brady versus Jordan, I look at how the impact, not just on the court. We already know on the court, Jordan was he was a mastermind, but off the court, what he'd done for his fashion, with the whole shoe brand, with the whole Jordan brand in general, where he's created something that is just untouchable, I feel. And I think Brady, and even me and my dad talked about it earlier, he thinks this is another big thing. Tom Brady and Jordan may be pairing for something like a TB12 Jordan crossover shoe or something like that. That would be very interesting because I did see they were playing a game of pickup basketball in LA, I believe. And it's going to be very interesting to see what Tom Brady goes into far as his retirement. But I do think he'll become an owner. I think he cannot get away from the game of football. I mean, football is his life. And I feel that when it comes to Jordan, Jordan has always, even for him, basketball is his life. And now he's being an owner for the Charlotte Hornets. I think, however, that Brady may have a better ownership thing than Michael Jordan. I do agree with, I think that's going to be a big thing. I think Tom Brady is able to put the pieces together rather than Jordan, because Jordan was able to play the game at a high level. But as far as putting the pieces together, I'm not so sure about that. What do you think, Leon?
Well, I'll tell you what. One, I agree with you when you talked about Jordan in terms of fashion, creating the Jordan brand. Yes, definitely. And that's going to be around forever. So, in that regard, yes, Jordan made a huge impact, not only in basketball, not only in sports, but in lifestyle. Brady's legacy could be in nutrition and longevity. Think about it. He played a position that's high impact, high importance, and all of the articles and stories that have been told about his nutrition and the regimen that he went through to keep his body able to play at such a high level for so long. Now, as far as Brady being an owner versus Jordan being an owner, Brady owning an NFL team, I can see him going down on the field trying to show a young quarterback how to do, or talking him through how to do. But maybe because he's not still attached to the team, maybe that communication level is not going to be there. Or does he do like a lot of owners and look at this thing from a strictly financial perspective and say, my purchase is making money, and he's hands off as a coach? I as an owner, I don't know. One more thing though. The idea of Jordan and Brady coming together to form a brand to do whatever, that's going to be unstoppable.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, because I know they're pretty good friends that I'm aware of, and like I said before, they were just playing a pickup game of basketball. They were playing, I think, 3-on-3 in LA. Jordan still looks good, by the way. He was crossing over people. It was really awesome to watch. But I think for me, when I look at Tom Brady and Michael Jordan, they are the best to do what they've done. I mean, you can't ask Tom Brady to do anything better than what he did. His stats, his whole career is, I don't think we'll ever see that again, especially in my lifetime or your lifetime, Leon. It's really amazing that one man can go to the Super Bowl 10 times and win it with 7 rings. Not to mention, you go to another team with a whole new system, and you completely bring them to life. You bring the Bucks organization to life. You bring that Bucks culture back to them, and finally got them back into a winning status so where they could compete for championships. It's a very big deal. And, it does hurt to see somebody as great as Brady leave, because now a lot of those great quarterbacks you've seen, like Peyton, like Drew Brees, like Ben Roethlisberger, a lot of those guys they're gone now. And the closest person left is probably Aaron Rodgers. And it's really unfortunate to see those guys leave. We're heading into a whole new era of football. But that wraps up this segment. We're going to head into Brian Flores' situation right after the break. We'll be right back.
Water. It's everywhere. We drink it, we bathe with it, we cook with it. Coffee's made with water. Toilets won't flush without it. It's used for washing clothes, dishes, utensils, pots, pans, floors, and our teeth. Plants and crops need water, animals drink it, and fish need it too. And don't forget, we can have a lot of fun in the water. Water. What will we do without it?
Slow roasted over hickory fire and pulled by hand. This is the way pit pork has always been done. Pulled pork lovers, rejoice. The smoky old days are back at the Smoke Shack. From the creative team that brought you The Browning Project and Dead by Morning comes a new thriller that will change the way you look at white-collar crime forever. Falling from the Sky.
You're watching Jasmine Pollock's First Impressions Sports Talk. Be sure to join Jasmine every week for great conversation on the NBA, NFL, and a wide variety of sports topics. To see past episodes of First Impressions Sports Talk, go to YouTube and search First Impressions Sports Talk. You can connect with Jasmine on LinkedIn by searching Jasmine Pollock. And now, back to more First Impressions Sports Talk.
Welcome back to Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. To wrap up the night, we're going to talk about Brian Flores. Brian Flores has been in the news for the past week regarding his lawsuits against the NFL and many countless teams, and it's been a whirlwind. So, Leon, I want to bring you in. What is your reaction to this whole Brian Flores situation, and what are your thoughts about what's going to happen?
It's a shame. It's sad that this is happening. All right, and give me a couple minutes to get it all out, and then we'll talk, or you can ask questions, or however. First, this whole thing called the Rooney Rule. Shut up. What does it say? When you have an opening, you have to interview a black candidate. So what do? They bring in a black candidate. They ask him some questions, and they go, "That's nice. We're going to hire this guy anyway." Right? Let's face it. Anybody who thinks that's not happening, you really gotta wake up. Have some teams hired black coaches? Yes. Is it a result of the Rooney Rule? I don't think so. I think these were owners and general managers really looking for the right fit. Now, let's talk about Flores. He wins 2 straight years. They say goodbye. He goes to interview and gets a text message that he should not have received, where someone is being congratulated on getting the job, but yet Flores is going there. Why? The Rooney Rule. They could say they interviewed a black candidate. He's done. Brian Flores is not going to get another coaching position. He's going to be sitting on the sidelines like Kaepernick. Then one more thing. I listened to a radio show a couple days ago, read a couple of articles that said the NFL attorneys are going to convince Flores to not make the information public, so that there is a huge settlement of an undisclosed amount. Therefore, none of us will ever know what truly went on. It'll just be us on shows like this in conversations discussing what we think happened. I think it's ridiculous that he got fired, that his owner offered to pay him to lose games. That's just bad. It's bad. The whole thing is just horrible. And then the NFL comes out with a statement from Roger Goodell. Yeah. Obviously, we need to do more. Well, what are you gonna do? Tell me what you're gonna do. Talking about it ain't doing it. It's really disgusting.
Yeah, I was very, very disappointed when the Dolphins first fired him. I was really shocked. I thought the Dolphins were heading in a very good situation. I thought they were heading into some good years. He completely changed the culture in that locker room, in that organization. They were starting to win, especially them starting 0-7 and then winning 7 straight. That was the first time that's ever happened in the NFL. So obviously he's doing something right. He was doing something right to cause them to start winning and be able to be in a position to get to the playoffs. And not to mention, last year they were 10-6. The reason why they didn't make it last year was because there was a lot of teams who were sitting in that spot. So it was just, this team won and this team lost, that kind of scenario. But it's very unfortunate because I thought Brian Flores was a very good coach, and it's very disappointing that now he's going to be at the sideline, just like you said, with he's going to be another Colin Kaepernick situation. It's really unfortunate now that the NFL, there's only 2 black coaches as of today. You have Mike Tomlin, and then Lovie Smith just got hired as the Texas coach, which I don't know if I really understand that one either. but I feel like that was, oh, we have to because of how it looks. I just think there are so many great black candidates, just as much as there are white candidates, that can put teams in the best position. When I look at Byron Leftwich, when I look at these guys like that, when you look at Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, why doesn't he have a job yet? I'm confused. There's so many great coaching candidates that deserve a spot. Dolphins shouldn't even have got rid of Brian Flores. But what do you think needs to change, Leon, in order for us to start seeing more black coaches in the NFL who are qualified?
I don't have an answer for that. And here's the thing: look at what they've tried to do. First, we got the Rooney Rule. Right? I've already discussed that. Then the league said to teams that hire a black general manager or a head coach, we'll give you draft picks, additional draft picks. That didn't work, right? It's just a matter of getting owners in that are willing to have diversity in their organization, and not just in terms of I got 70% of my players are black and I got a black person that does this and this in the organization, but truly we will hire a black coach. Look at the Baltimore Ravens. Their president resigned. Dick Cass resigned, and he was replaced with, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he's black. He was the former president of the Washington Wizards. He's now the president of the Ravens, right? Black guy hired in that position. Steve Biscotti, the owner of the Ravens, made that decision. We need more new blood owners is what we need. I mean, let's face it. In many cases, it's an old boys network, and they all got together and said, "Don't give Kaepernick an opportunity." And the same thing's going to happen to Flores. What's the answer to it? You can't mandate who they hire. You can't
Right.
mandate what type of person they hire. So the NFL really, in terms of that, their hands are tied. But there's so much more the league can do. Put money in cities and communities that need that money, and it doesn't have to be football related. And let's get black people more opportunities to go to college where they don't have to pay and don't have to be on an athletic scholarship. Let's do some of those things. Let's endorse some sports like the sport that I coach, racquetball. You don't see many black kids playing racquetball. Come on, NFL, send me some money to build racquetball clubs so kids can do something different. There's so much more that they can do. They know it. The question is, will they do it, and what kind of excuses are they going to come up with? And here's something else. It's kind of sports related. For students, black students that attend sport conferences, many of the folks on panel discussions and those that are talking about the different subject matters, they're white, except when it comes to the panel discussion or the workshop on diversity, and these event organizers suddenly figure out that they can find black people to participate in those discussions, right? So even at the education level, things need to change, and they bring black folks in who are experts in marketing, finance, accounting, sales, you name the discipline, and they're asked to talk about what it's like to be black doing, what it's like to be a black accountant in the NFL and all of that stuff. Well, why isn't that vice president of the NFL team, why isn't he talking about accounting, right? That's got to change. So I want everyone to go to this website, Next Generation Conferences. Next Generation Conferences. The folks that run that conference are doing something to change that so that black students see black professionals in sports and other professions. February 25th, the conference on sports takes place. Next Generation Conferences. It's got to start somewhere. A lot of stuff needs to change.
I 1000% agree. And I love how you mentioned how we need more black people in the front offices. We need more of them in ownership positions to where there can be a lot more at ease to have more black coaches. I do think when we look at the NBA, I do think the NBA is ahead of the NFL when it comes to certain. There's always work that needs to be done. There's always issues that are still being had, but I feel like the NBA is now in the moving in the right direction. I think they're ahead of the NFL when it comes to hiring black coaches.
Hmm.
One situation I feel that irritated me the most is the Texans situation. That whole organization is complete. I don't know what's going on. It's in complete shutters right now. It's very, very bad. And I
Yeah.
feel like even when they just fired this coach, 1 year coach, I mean, what did you expect him to do with what did he have to work with? Now he's
Hmm.
fired. Then now we have to hire Lovie Smith because it's going to look bad. But you were close to hiring Josh McCown. I mean,
Hmm.
it's a very weird situation going on with the Texans,
That.
and not not too long ago they were just a playoff team. Deshaun Watson battled it out with Patrick Mahomes in Arrowhead. So it's very unfortunate to see how Houston came and now they're just in a very, very bad spot. And I do feel bad for a lot of those athletes that are there who are very talented in a very bad situation. But Leon, for
Hmm.
that Texans thing, what do you think? What did you think about that whole Texans situation?
Well, they had all of the stuff going on with Deshaun, right? The next thing is the coach that they brought in. I can't remember his name, the guy that was the coach this past season, but I know he was like the defensive backfield coach for the Ravens, which typically isn't the pedigree. You usually don't go from being defensive backfield coach to head coach, right?
Right.
That usually doesn't happen. So even when that move was made, while it was great to see a black guy get the job, when he got hired, I think you may have talked about it on the show, or one of your guests brought it up and said he's wanting out. He don't have any players, right? You gotta have some players. I was talking to some basketball coaches this weekend, and they said it's never about the X's and the O's. It's about the Jimmys and the Joes,
Mm.
right? You're not gonna win unless you have some horses. And the Texans, who do they have? They don't have anyone. And then they bring in Lovey Smith. Now, was he a black hire? See, that's the question a lot of folks going to be asking now. Did they bring him in because of that? Well, he had some success with the Chicago Bears. We all know that he was in the same Super Bowl with Tony Dungy and could have very easily been the first black coach to win a Super Bowl, right? But it didn't finish too well for him. Then when he went to the University of Illinois, he didn't win all that much there. And I don't where was he last year? Was a linebacker coach, defensive coordinator, whatever. I don't know what he did last year, but you gotta have some players. You gotta have players. If you don't have players, you're not winning. So I don't know what's gonna happen with the Texans. Who kind of contract Lovey have? It's a bad situation there, Jasmine. Ugh.
I think it's going to end very bad too in Houston because it's just when you look at the talent level and then when you look at we still don't know what's going on with Deshaun. We don't know if he's coming back or who's going to get him. Is he going to be traded? Is he coming back? We don't know. And again, Lovey Smith is in the same situation that the former head coach was just in. And even though Lovey Smith, he has a resume, he's been in good situations. He's, has some success, but now there is what talent does he have? What can he do with this Texans team? And that's going to be very interesting to watch. And I'm going to be definitely keeping my eyes on this team. And I just don't like how the team is ran. I don't like what has come, like some of the things that I've heard come out of there. It's just not a good situation for anybody, really. But that wraps up tonight's show. Thank you, Leon, so much. It's always a good conversation to have. Go ahead.
I mean, I have one more thing I wanted to touch on. Thank you. You mentioned the NBA is ahead of the curve in terms of diversity. And here's why I think that happened. Way back when Bill Russell was hired to be their head coach, he was player coach, right? First black coach in the NBA. Red Auerbach, a high profile owner, made that decision. He stepped up and said, Bill Russell's my coach. He was a high profile general manager, not an owner. He was the GM of the team. He made that decision. And it was like, if Red's doing it, we can too. Who's going to
Right.
step up in the NFL? That's what I wanted to comment on. Thank you. Thank you for coming back to me.
That's the way to end it. But thanks, Leon, again. That's going to be very interesting to see. I'm really excited to see what the NFL is going to do and see if they're going to make a move, because I'm personally tired of seeing it. There's a lot of good candidates out there that deserve a position. But that wraps up tonight's show. Thank you again, Leon. Thank you, Jay, for the production. We'll see you guys here on Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk next Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good night.